Welcome into Mentor Forge Podcast. I'm your host, Cartwright Morris. What I'm about is helping the high performer pursue a higher quality of life. If the things you want in your life are not reflected in your daily activity, in your daily decisions, then there's something wrong. There's time to make a change. That's what I'm here to help you do. My coaching program helps men, leaders in family, business, and community do just that. The things they want come to the forefront of their life, and they get to pursue that on an intentional basis. So that's what I do. You can go to mentorforge.com to find out more, or click the link in the bio. Today's episode is with Nick Nalbach. I think Nick's story is very unique to a lot of us, that we went to college, got the good grades, got the job we were supposed to get, lived the life we're supposed to live. And something happened, something changed, and he wanted his life to be different. And that's why he started 9-5 to Freedom. Go to 9to5freedom.com to find out more about Nick's story. And it's really powerful how he's got into podcasting, and he's helping others get into podcasting as well, so they can create passive income and pursue the life they want. So check out 9to5freedom.com for more on Nick Nalbach. Now here's today's interview. All right. Got a great episode today at the Mentor Forge podcast. Nick Nalbach, am I saying it right?
Yeah, you nailed it, man.
Yeah, there we go.
Not many people get it right.
Hey, I've never been known for my ebonics, but here we are. So, Nick, man, it's great to have you on. So tell me, well, just give me a little update, just what's been going on with you. What's good about living in West Virginia and life right now?
Well, right now I'm currently working as a construction project manager. Mm-hmm. That is my day job. And on the side, I'm working on building this podcast coaching, like podcast launch coaching business. So it's going to be a mixture between a little bit of an agency and a little bit of one-on-one online learning, that type of stuff. And obviously running a podcast myself. Mm-hmm. So the whole premise, the whole idea of this, and the whole reason I started my brand was to eventually escape that 9-to-5 corporate setting. Mm-hmm. And through podcasting is how I plan to actually get that done.
Nice. Podcasting. Huh. And just real quick, do me what's the why podcasting?
Podcasting, I've tried blogging, I've tried video, and video was terrible, by the way. Video was so rough. And I tried that first. And it was brutal. Podcasting, I got into it. It took a lot of the pressure off because I was able to talk to people and not talking into a camera, because that's the intimidating, no feedback, mm-hmm. no reaction. You're just talking. Mm-hmm. And being able to actually have this one-on-one like we're doing now, it was this takes a lot of pressure off. This is easier. Mm-hmm. And my confidence just continued to build to where I am getting in front of a camera now. I'm showing up more, mm-hmm. and I've been able to meet some amazing people through podcasting. Mm-hmm. And I want other people to have that experience. I think so many opportunities have opened up for me since I launched the podcast. Yeah. And I think there's a lot of people that are missing out on that opportunity because, there's a bunch of reasons, but everyone thinks that everybody has a podcast, and it's just not true.
Yeah. I mean, it feels that way because it is such a saturated market. And, I've heard from 2017 to this year, I think the number of podcasts has gone from 700,000 to 20 million. So it is still saturated, but like you said,
actually podcasting as a whole right now hasn't even crossed 3 million yet.
Oh, really? I must have heard the wrong number. I got the wrong advice.
I think so. YouTube has exploded. There's obviously way more channels. That's at 37 million, I want to say. Okay. The last stat that I saw on it. But podcasting, there's only 2.8 million or something like that. And even crazier than that. So that seems like a lot, say 3 million podcasts. Mm-hmm. Only 23% of all of those podcasts are actually active, which means that they've published an episode in the last 90 days. So if it's that, there's people trying it, but they're not sticking with it. Right. So I think it was something like 500,000 active podcasts, something like that. that means it's very young. It's very much in its infancy, and it is still growing year over year. So whenever I get the chance, I'm like telling people, especially if they have a brand or they're looking to build an audience or whatever, it's like get into podcasting and stick with it, because people are getting into it but not sticking with it.
Right. That's interesting. And I actually heard somebody say, 20 years ago, it was the thing for a business to get a website. And there may be in a few years where it's a thing where a business needs to have a podcast.
Yeah.
So we could be in that space. So anyway,
I just agree.
Yeah. So I'm in your choir here. You're preaching but it's funny you said that about video. Have you ever seen the movie Talladega Nights with Will Ferrell?
Yeah.
That scene, he's like talking to the camera, car drive real good.
I don't know what I should do with my hands.
So that's how I feel every time I'm on camera.
It's rough, especially like if you're not used to getting in front of a camera, like that little hole in the little black hole. It's like you're staring into an abyss. Like, it's so intimidating.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, man, Zach, sorry, I called you that. Nick, man, what's man, I'm kind of all over the place today. I really just would love to hear kind of a little bit of an origin story, kind of give me what was a big turning point really in your adolescence.
So going up in through school, I graduated high school, went to college. I actually played baseball in college, and I was in college and I didn't know what I wanted to do. Like, I knew baseball would be awesome. Like,
you're the only one.
Yeah. Like, if I could have taken baseball to the next level, like, obviously I would have jumped all over that, and that didn't work out. It doesn't for most people. So no surprise there. But yeah, I really had no idea. I got into college. I was like, okay, I'm going to do chemistry because I really liked that in high school. Got to college and I was like, whoa, this is a completely different game. I am not cut out for this. I can't do this. So I just reverted back. I went to business, and I still didn't know what I wanted to do with that. I was just like, that's a safe degree that I can get a multitude of different positions with.
Right.
And we'll just see. Hopefully I figure it out as we go.
Yeah.
And after graduating, I still didn't really know. I was just picking up jobs. I got hired through like a staffing agency, working in like a cubicle, and it was like the longest 8 hours of my life every single day.
Yeah.
It was just brutal for me. And about not even like a full year into that, I ended up applying, getting the job that I have now as a project manager. And it kind of gave me a little bit of taste of freedom because I had a little bit more say in how I run my business, like how I handle my day-to-day stuff. But it's still like very demanding, very restricting. My time is very much engulfed in this thing. Yeah. And that just didn't sit well with me. I want to be able to control how much I make. I want to be able to control when and where I'm at. And if I can be working while I'm halfway across the world, like, that's the goal. That's the dream.
Yeah. So, I mean, was the goal of going to college, was it initially to play baseball, or was it like you felt like you were just told this is what you're supposed to do? So what was your initial reasoning for going to college?
Yeah, I mean, everyone said like, okay, you need to go to college. Like, that was the whole kind of plan. I feel like there's a lot of people that are in that same boat. It's like, you go to high school, get good grades, go to college, get good grades, get that career, ride that career off until you're 64, can retire, and finally relax and live the good life.
Which was the model 30, 40 years ago, but it ain't now, right? Yeah, but somehow we took that on, didn't we?
Yeah, absolutely. So because I didn't really know what I wanted to do other than play baseball at the time, like I was picking my college based on where I wanted to play baseball. And that was my whole intent. But I went into my freshman year of college right away with an injury. I ended up tearing my labrum in my shoulder, which was about 6 to 9 months recovery on that. And then a year or two later, tore it again. So it was just like, I constantly kept having these setbacks and having to build back up. So I kind of knew early on in college that going on to that next level wasn't likely going to happen.
Right.
But yeah, other than that, it was like coasting, doing what everyone told me I needed to do. checking off all of those boxes. Like I said, like getting the grades in high school, check box number 1. Getting the grades in college, check box number 1. Find a job, there's another check box. And you get to a point where it's like, you feel like you're doing everything right because everyone said this is what you need to do. And you're like, I'm doing it. But at the same time, it's like, it just doesn't feel right. Like something's off here.
Mm-hmm.
And it actually wasn't until I read a book, I was like, okay, I have a business degree. I'm graduated college. I need to be an adult. I need to learn business. Like that's what a grown man does. So I got this book. It's called The Millionaire Fast Lane by MJ DeMarco. And it sounds like a get rich quick scheme type of book. Like just soak it all in, whatever. And it was definitely not.
Yeah.
The big like sticking point for me throughout that whole book was, okay, you're going to go through that progression like we talked about, getting the grades, getting the career, ride that out till retirement. But then he said, what if you don't make it to that age? What if you get to 64, 65 and you're in a wheelchair now?
Yeah.
Or what if you're just not healthy? Like there's no guarantee that you are going to be in good condition by the time you hit there, if you even make it there.
Mm-hmm.
So why are you putting all your chips into that basket?
Right.
And gambling on that? Like, why would you do that? And that for me was like, whoa, yeah, no, I need to be living life now and doing the things that I want to do now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know I'm healthy. And if I can carry that through to retirement age and whenever that might be, like, great. But I'm not gonna sit around and wait for that to come to me, hoping that everything's gonna work out really great in the end.
Yeah. So you had that big moment reading that book. Well, what was kind of step one? What really made you go, all right, I have to do it this way, or did you get people around you that kind of thought similarly, or you just start consuming content? What was the next step?
Yeah. So honestly, after the book, I started like learning all about entrepreneurship. That's when it first clicked in my head that like entrepreneurship is a reality.
Right.
I look at the headlines. I look at the names like Bezos and Elon Musk. Like they're all over the headlines right now. Like you can't not see them. Mm-hmm. That's what I thought entrepreneurship was. So when I'm looking at that, I'm like, well, hell, I'm not going to start a SpaceX. Like I have no business doing that. Like why would I even try? Mm-hmm. So after that, I read that book and I had that moment. I started consuming podcasts. I got into like several entrepreneurship podcasts that I was hearing stories of people who are regular, everyday, ordinary people building their own businesses, building their own brands, and creating the life they want to live. And that was so inspiring to me. So I'm like, that's what I need to do. I need to figure out what I can do to make a living for myself and not be relying on another company to dictate how much I'm going to pay or how much I'm going to get paid, when I can get a raise, how much that raise is going to be, when I can take time off, where I can work from, like all of those things that are controlled by an employer. I don't want that. I want to be able to decide all that for myself.
Yeah.
And starting really, I had no idea. I didn't know which way to go, what I wanted to do. And I was trying all kinds of different things. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know how long you want me to, I could keep going if you have questions, man. Like,
yeah. I would love to hear some of your failures. Yeah. Like that's like, what did you try and it didn't work out? What was some of the early? Yeah.
So right out of the gate, I had like a strong, actually even before that, now thinking back on it, one of the big premises of that book, The Millionaire Fast Lane, is like one of the main themes is control. And there's so many businesses and platforms and stuff like that that seem like you are building something that you have total control of, even though you're still like under the control of someone. Someone can still cut you off. Like social media being a big part of that. A lot of people make money with social media, but at any given time, like, yes, you're creating the content, you're bringing in this revenue, but if you're doing this on Facebook or Instagram and they decide, you know what, we're done with you, and they cut you off, block your account, you go from having income to having absolutely nothing. Yeah. So it seems like you're in control because it's your thing that you're creating, but ultimately someone is above you dictating whether or not you can continue going. So that was like, holy cow, everything that I would think of, like I wanted to do a subscription box. And I was like, okay, I could do a subscription box. There's all these marketplaces that you can put it into. And it was like, but then wait a minute, there's someone at the top controlling that marketplace that if I upload my subscription box there, they could say, no, we don't want your box anymore. And then there goes the income. So it was like, you have to be the brand, you have to be the business, you have to be that like marketplace. And so the subscription box, like I spent a lot of time, actually me and my brother, we spent a lot of time together trying to develop this thing. And we wanted to do like an alcohol related like cocktail mixture subscription box. And we thought it'd be the coolest thing because there wasn't many out there.
Yeah.
And soon realized why, because the legalities of shipping alcohol all across the US is very difficult.
Yeah.
There was like one other company that could actually pull it off.
Yeah. I mean, Alabama, I don't think you could ship to people's homes.
At all?
No, I've gone to Napa, and I think we have to ship it to stores to pick it up. And so anyway, sorry,
wow.
you just say that. So there's so many restrictions from state to state, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So after we started diving into that, I was like, oh man, like the amount of tracks we would have to cover to make this work, and we don't even know if it would work. Like it's not worth the risk right now. So we ended up canning that after probably weeks of planning, figuring out how we were actually going to structure it. And then it was my brother, myself, and my dad actually, because he's very big into the website development, the coding, all of that, which my brother and I are not at all.
Oh, wow. Your dad is. That's interesting.
Yeah. He's been deep into it for a very long time.
Yeah.
So we started building this new platform, and it's still live, but we've kind of taken a back seat on it. It's called Experiment, and it's basically like a peer-to-peer or like person-to-person like equipment rental. So if you want to rent kayaks, you would rent it from another person as opposed to going to like a rental shop down the street and renting a kayak.
Yeah.
So kind of like an Airbnb for outdoor gear, stand-up paddle boards, kayaks, that type of thing. And we struggle with that as well. It's very difficult trying to serve two different markets, those that want to be renting the stuff and those who want to rent out the stuff.
Yeah.
So we struggled there. And then through it all, we learned a lot about marketing, and I had started kind of like a personal brand blog. That's 9-5 to Freedom, kind of where the 9-5 podcast spawned out of. And my thought was like, as I'm trying all this stuff, I'll just kind of document the things that I'm learning along the way and kind of take people along on that journey. Because I can't go and be like, hey, look at what I've done. Look at this business I've built. I can teach you how to build it. But I can say, this is what I'm doing to build my business. This is what's working and this is what's not working. You can come along on that journey and do the same if you want.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a different way of like putting myself as somewhat of an authority online without being like the absolute authority that knows everything, because I'm just trying stuff out.
Right. Yeah. But that's interesting. Just that approach. I mean, it's like the success model that is continually with my guests and people I look up to is like just falling forward. Right. And sometimes it's like, we just want to be, as we're going on our journey, we're helping others in the same time on theirs. Right. And so we can learn from another. So how much, you talked about your dad, you talked about your brother. Was there other people you put around to kind of collaborate with, to really think through, bounce off ideas, and how valuable was that?
I mean, throughout the course of me kind of diving into all of this entrepreneurship stuff, there's been countless people that I've built relationships with and was able to riff with. This past year, I actually hired a mentor, like a mindset coach, to kind of help me this year. And I mean, relationships by far have been the biggest asset because so many people know so many things. It's incredible if you put yourself in a position to build relationships, like just to build relationships and not try to get anything out of it.
Right.
You'll end up getting something out of it.
How about that?
I don't know. I can't recommend enough, like putting yourself in a position to meet new people, especially people in the places that you want to be. Like that quote, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Yeah.
I kind of think it's true in a way, just because I know I have developed a lot more since hanging out with the people that I do online. Even if we don't get to see face to face, and COVID the last year or two really limited how much face to face interactions you could have, and like the networking events and all that stuff didn't really exist during that time frame when I started actively seeking out people and trying to build those connections.
Yeah.
But even just through DMs on Twitter or Instagram or the podcast, once the podcast launched, like the relationships that you can build out of that and the opportunities that come with that are absolutely insane.
Yeah. That's good, Nick. Golly, man, that's so fascinating. So now when you look back at that 18-year-old going to college, what would you tell him? Today's episode is brought to you by Thrive Marriage Lab. If you want your marriage to thrive, this is a great opportunity to you, because strong marriages are the bedrock of strong churches, organization, families, and community. This is a 12-month pathway for any of you that are looking to really have weekly engagement with experienced marriage counselors. Not just one, but many. So go to restory.life/thrive to get on the waiting list for this great program that starts in April. That's restory.life/thrive. And make sure you put the word Forge in the promo code to receive a discount on your monthly fee. Now, back to the episode.
That's a good question, because I'm not saying that I wouldn't go back to college, just because there were so many experiences that I enjoyed, the people I met, things I've learned, like even just from a social aspect, I feel like served me very well.
Right.
So I think I would definitely still go back to college, but I would definitely tell myself that you going on after college and looking for a job in the normal like job field is not the only option out there. Like there are opportunities for people to build businesses, and there are like an infinite number of resources online that can help you get there. And I probably would have been diving a lot deeper throughout college, trying to figure out ways to make money and kind of skip the learning curve that I've had to do since college until now.
Right.
Just because you learn a lot in college, but then I learned so much more once I got out of college.
Yeah.
And if I could have got a head start on that, I feel like I'd be in a much different place at this exact moment.
Yeah. That's so true. Because it is interesting that we still have that model in place. I mean, people are taking out hundreds of $1,000s of loans, right? And it's not, but the value is still not there. Even like it costs less, but it was more valuable for our parents. But yet it's just insane the marketplace for what it's creating. And so now, where have you found success? Where has been the most valuable way to create that passive income, or even create an income outside of the 9 to 5?
Yeah. So this past year is the first time I've been committed to monetizing. My whole mindset once I got into it is like, okay, I'm going to build the brand. I'm going to build the audience of people who actually care what I have to say. Yeah. And then once I have that, then start to monetize. And like probably partway through last year, I realized like I just need to start taking action. I need to start like putting myself in a position to take money. I was battling this level of imposter syndrome that I am not an expert, and there are so many better people out there than me. And even though people were coming to me for this and that and podcasting, like once I launched that, like so many people were coming to me asking questions about podcasting, but I still in my own mind didn't see myself as someone of an authority at that.
Right.
I still felt like I was new. So why would anybody want to pay me for something like that? My mindset since then has totally shifted, because I personally feel no matter where you are in that journey, you could just be a few steps in. You're a few steps further than someone that's right behind you, and they're going to need to learn the stuff that you know. Yeah. And that's an opportunity to monetize. So the podcasting stuff, I honestly think there's so many people out there that want to do it. There's so many people that don't know how to do it. You got the tech, you have the software. How do you grow the thing? How do you get guests? Like there's so many different aspects around podcasting that can be intimidating, especially if you're coming in completely blind. And I feel like I can definitely help people. And I'm confident that I can help people get their show running and have it serve them in a way, whether that is to benefit their business or it is to open up opportunities and connections with guests that they bring on or whatever they want that to be. I feel confident that I can help deliver that for them.
Yeah. And so, not to give away too many of your secrets, but if someone's out there thinking about starting a podcast, what's kind of what's your advice for them just starting out?
I mean, first of all, it doesn't have to cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's one of the biggest misconceptions, I feel like, because people will look at content creators and they'll see microphones and lights and cameras and like all this stuff going on, and you don't need that. Podcast is audio only, and you can literally take your phone out and record a podcast. Like that is literally all you need. There's free platforms to upload it that push it out to everywhere, Apple, Spotify, all that. Like the barrier to entry is really low, but everyone is kind of thinking it's very high.
Right.
So, I mean, if you want to get started, you can definitely get started, and it doesn't have to cost you an arm and a leg. If you are thinking about starting, don't wait. Like, don't sit on it. Don't wait till the timing is perfect, because it's never going to be.
Yeah.
And you're just you're making excuses for yourself to not get started.
Yeah.
I was the same way. When I started the blog, I was like, okay, podcasting, like, I love podcasts. I get a lot of value out of them. I know eventually when I have this audience and I have this and I have that, that's when I want to do a podcast, because that's when people are going to listen. And after kind of failing at the video, I was like, well, I need to show up more. Like, I know everything is going to video. Everything is going like personal. So I just said, screw it. Like, I don't have the audience, but I'm going to start the podcast. And if it sucks, it sucks. If it turns into something, it turns into something, but I'm going to like dedicate a time and effort into this thing. Yeah. And I'm so glad I did. I only wish I would have done it earlier, because now I'm like, I'm all in podcasts. And like, this is my medium. This is my platform. I can tell.
Yeah. So what was, when you first started, what was the format? Were you interviewing people? Were you just talking about random topics, or did you have kind of when you started a kind of an agenda and a heading? Yeah.
So it all kind of ties back to like the 9-to-5 to freedom, taking you on that journey of escaping the 9-to-5. Like, it follows a very similar format where the guests that I bring on are either very well established 6, 7, 8-figure entrepreneurs, or they're people that are just kind of getting their toes wet in that space. Yeah. And we talk about that. Like, what is that transition like? Some people you hear just say, you know what, I'm done with the corporate, quit, I'll figure it out tomorrow. And they just start building something of their own. Other people will like start a side hustle while they're working their job. And then once that side hustle is built up enough, they're like, okay, leave that behind and just focus on my own business full time. Like, everyone's got such a unique experience of what that has been like going from corporate to their own business. Yeah. And I want to unpack that, because me, myself, not knowing that is possible for somebody to do, like, had I had people saying like, oh, this person did it, and this person did it, this person did it, and this person did it, like, they're normal people. It's not Elon Musk that's like, everybody isn't Elon Musk that's having their own business. So my hope is that people will find those episodes and hear all of these stories of people that are doing it, and they're just normal people that they're like, I'm done with working a 9-to-5 job. I'm going to do my own thing and succeeding at it. Like, anybody can do it. Yeah. So, and then obviously we get strategic. Yeah. How they build it, but all that. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, outside of like that theme of finding people that were done with their 9-to-5 and getting more entrepreneurship. Golly, that's a hard word for me, I guess, today. I could say Nalbach, but I can't say entrepreneurship. But yeah, what's outside of that theme? What was maybe a constant theme you heard throughout all the interviews?
Oh man, relationships, like 100%, whether it is directly or indirectly.
Mm-hmm.
Almost every guest that I brought on has attributed a relationship or a series of relationships or a coach or a mentor to their success. Like basically, if they wouldn't have had this person or this mastermind that they were in or whatever it was, like they wouldn't be where they're at.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like at the beginning of the episode why I was harping so heavy on relationships and how like crazy they can be in terms of opening opportunities and doors. You don't know who other people know.
Mm-hmm.
There was actually a guest I had on, what have been, it was over a year ago, I think for sure. But he said he went to the park. He was just playing like basketball with just a group of people and didn't know until they got done playing, but he was playing with this guy, like real scrubby looking, like wouldn't have thought anything of him. This dude's like a multimillionaire, like living the freaking life.
Yeah.
And he was a normal person. He didn't stand out, and he struck up conversation with them. He was polite with them and built a good relationship with them, not thinking, oh my gosh, this guy's a millionaire. Like I need to get in with him. He's like, I'm just going to be this guy's friend. So you just never know what people like don't put out there for the world to see or who people know, because you could meet someone tomorrow that ends up sending someone your direction, recommending you, and that just like all of a sudden your business goes to the moon. And I don't know, that whole mindset to me is just, it's incredible. I think the relationships is definitely got to be the most impactful thing that people have brought to the show.
Yeah. That just the value of that no man's an island. Yeah, that's really good. So I'm gonna try to say this word one more time. Entrepreneurship. What does that word mean to you, Nick?
It means control, I think, is the big word for me. Control, and then living a life that like on your own terms, like living the life that you want to live. I think there's nothing wrong. I'm a big proponent of doing what you enjoy doing. And if that is working, like if you have a job in a 9-to-5 setting, corporate setting, and you're like, I love this job. I love showing up every day. Like, this is awesome. Like, that is awesome. Like, you keep doing that because that's what you enjoy. You don't have to become an entrepreneur to be happy at all. But if you're in a job or you've tried multiple jobs in different industries and you realize like, I'm not happy doing this or that, like maybe building something of your own can allow you to be happy. It can allow you to like enjoy putting time and effort into something. And that's what it was for me. Like when I'm spending time working to build my business, like I can get so locked into it and so excited about the things that I'm doing that time just flies by. And then I'll wake up and I have no problem jumping in and doing it again. Whereas when I was working in that cubicle, it was like, oh my God, this day is never going to end.
Yeah.
And then I got to do it again tomorrow and the next day. Like, is the weekend ever going to get here? Like, I don't want to be living for a weekend. So entrepreneurship to me is control and being able to live a life that you want to live.
Yeah. But I think a lot of people are unwilling to give that up because of security, right? But they're willing to sacrifice their well-being, their, like you saying, passion, excited about something just for that level of security, health insurance, the paycheck.
Yeah.
But man, it is just a fascinating thought. I like just that, man, at the same time, but I imagine they would get to inner life and like, man, I wish I wasn't so bored all the time.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
I wish I got more excited about my day and things I was doing on a day-to-day basis. And just redefining on it, like what success looks like, redefining what do I really want in this life? What do I want my day-to-day to be? It's a lot of stuff I ask my clients, especially when they're making this change. So, yeah, I mean, I guess that this may be the same thing, but so you have the word 9 to 5 to freedom. When you say that 9 to 5 to freedom, what does freedom mean to you?
it really just means, simply put, like, I can be where I want, do what I want, make what I want. It all just kind of ties back into the control of my own life. I don't want someone to be able to control what I make, how much, where, when, why. Like, I want that. If I want to, say, make an extra $5,000 this month or an extra $20,000 this month, like, I'm going to work a little bit harder in my business and I can make that happen. Whereas if I'm in a 9-to-5 job and don't have that flexibility, it's like, okay, if I work a little bit harder, I'm going to make the same amount of money I made last month.
Yeah.
And it rubs me the wrong way. Like, for freedom, like, my wife and I, we love traveling. And in this project management position that I'm currently in, we're very limited on that. Usually everything's kind of slowed down right now, but typically it's a 6-day a week, at minimum 10-hour a day, sometimes 12, 13-hour a day.
Yeah.
Like, it's highly demanding. So even my weekends are cut short because I get a Sunday and that's my weekend.
Yeah.
So I want to be able to say, you know what, I'm going to leave for the week and nobody can say anything about it because my business is on autopilot and I don't have anybody to report to because I'm my own boss. Like, that's the goal.
Right. Yeah, it's a great thing. And you kind of mentioned earlier about leveraging relationships. What's something else that, from my audience out there, what's something they can start leveraging, which I imagine your title, the 9-to-5, part of that is like you're leveraging your 9-to-5. That little stream of income is then hopefully starts to fill the other ones. But what are some ways my listeners can leverage what they're doing now, anything in their life to really start getting to that place?
I mean, start thinking, like, you'd be surprised, like, what you can monetize, what you can make money from. Like, think about the things that you enjoy doing, even if it's like a hobby or just something that you have fun with. And look, like, go into Google and actually type in, like, making money with whatever that hobby is or whatever that thing that you like doing, and see different ways that people are finding, like, say you like collecting sports cards or something like that. You type in how to make money with sports cards, and there's so many different creative ways that people are monetizing sports cards. Not just like, okay, I'm going to hold on to this card and wait till it's worth a lot of money and then sell it. Like, people are doing these card breaks, and like, you're getting people to buy in, and they end up getting specific cards based on what's pulled. And like, there's so many different unique ways to look at it. So just because you enjoy doing something doesn't mean you can't make money from it as well.
Yeah.
So if you are wanting to test the waters, like, do that search, see what is out there, because I think you'd be surprised at how many different ways you can actually make money online.
Yeah. So what are some of the searches that you've done? Just to practically, I'm really curious now, like some of the practical stuff that you've done to really, how many streams of income would you say you have right now?
Right now I have like two.
Okay.
And I actually just had a call earlier this week. I was talking with someone about ways that I can kind of spread that out.
Okay.
So there's a lot coming up in the near future here, but I don't know, man, like, there's so many, even if like there's a specific thing that you do, whether that's graphic design, maybe you're an Excel whiz, something like that, like, do freelance work. There's a lot of places like Fiverr and Upwork and all these platforms out there where people can hire you for those services. And I did a lot of digging there, like on the freelance sites, and just seeing what people are putting out there for their services. Because I've spent a lot of time with graphic design. I thought maybe like that's something I would want to do, is like a freelance graphic design. I did a little bit of that before getting my like first real big boy job. So I always knew that was a possibility, but I kind of knew after I started building the blog and the personal brand that I wanted it to be something in the educational space.
Yeah.
So it took a little bit to get there through like the subscription box idea and the rental gear idea and just the various things Like finding my place online was difficult.
Yeah.
I've ventured down like every path of digital marketing. I've tried all the different things there. And the stuff, unfortunately, takes time. There's a lot of people out there trying to sell you the shortcut. And I can tell you, I've tried a lot of them, and there is no shortcut.
Yeah.
And now that's why this year is like the main year that I'm focusing on monetizing, because I've spent the last how many years trying to find the shortcut and jump ahead of all that stuff, and it didn't work. But now I'm finally at a place where I'm starting to see real potential and growth.
Yeah.
And it's the not short, it's the longer ways, it's the doing things right that's actually working.
Yeah, that's great, man. Like, yeah, playing the long game. I think that's so interesting. Especially we see the advertisements for Instagram ads, Facebook ads, all those. Is that like kind of stuff you tried? And
oh yeah, like I was all in, and I learned a lot throughout the whole thing, like search engine optimization, SEO, the Facebook ads, the Instagram, TikTok, like all the different things, the strategies. Everyone says, oh yeah, just pump money into Facebook ads and you'll just drive traffic to your business. Well, if you haven't done research into Facebook ads, there's a lot that goes into Facebook ads.
Yeah.
And unless you want to just send money into an endless pit,
yeah,
you're going to want to learn it like thoroughly, because it's difficult. I spent the first like probably year and a half, 2 years completely blocked from Facebook. Like they won't even allow me to do anything on the platform because they thought my website was like a selling like get rich quick scheme type of thing, because I talked about passive income and online business and all the stuff. So as soon as I tried running an ad to them, it was like shut off, locked me out, couldn't do anything, couldn't send people to my website, nothing. So that kind of goes back to the control thing again. It's like, you want to, if you're going to get into the entrepreneurship, you want to be building it something of your own on your own like platform. And that in most cases will be your website. But
that's good. Yeah. So where have you found success in digital marketing? Maybe I'm just asking for a friend or myself, maybe.
I've spent a lot of time recently on Instagram. I was on Twitter a lot, and recently switched. I started focusing a lot on Instagram, and the thing that works the best is striking up conversations. Like, it's not posting every day. It's not putting out 10 tweets a day or an Instagram post a day and 20 stories and use these hashtags and all that stuff. Like, when I see steady movement and I see growth and I see things moving in the right direction, it's when I'm reaching out to people and actually starting and striking up conversations. Again, it doesn't scale, but it works.
Yeah.
And I mean, since doing Instagram, like the Instagram's been really good for the podcasting business as a whole. I've been hitting it hard for like not even a month and a half right now. And I've already had like 4 or 5 strategy calls booked. Just from like reaching out to people and engaging, and then other people seeing it. And like, it's been pretty crazy, but just having conversations with people and being genuine, go into it looking for a friend, and you might see an opportunity where, hey, you do that. That's awesome. Like, I actually need help with that. Like,
connecting with people. That's really good, man. That sounds like that's like your MO, which is really healthy, man. Especially in this world.
Before I did the podcast, I was not like that. I avoided people. I kept to myself. Clubhouse, have you been on that at all?
I have not, but I know about it. Yeah.
So when that was like really taken off, it was like shortly into like COVID, like hitting, I think it was like middle of 2020 when I actually got onto it, because they were doing like invite only. So you had to know somebody who was in it and they had to invite you. Like, it was a whole big deal to get in. And it's just a platform that you go and talk to people on. And I spent wasted a lot of time on that platform just talking to people. And it was between that and podcasting, like, really opened my eyes to like, holy cow, like, people actually just want to have relationships. Like, everyone's not just trying to sell you. People are willing to help you. Like, you just can't be afraid to ask.
Right.
So seeing that and realizing, I was like, oh, there is something to this, like networking and getting to know other people in the space, because they aren't all out. It's not like, oh, you're in that space, I'm in that space, like get away because you're going to take business from me. Like, this world is huge. There's so many opportunities, and a saturated market is never truly saturated.
Yeah, that's really good. I mean, it's really fascinating too, because like 30 years ago, right, it was, we're all these smaller businesses. You had to have a small business, and you had to have some local footprint. And now, especially with podcasting, it's like you can have a small business, but it doesn't have to be local. But have you found opportunities to be local, or has it mainly been just kind of like I've just kind of been scattered?
Because of my job, my 9-to-5 job, we've moved around quite a bit. So I haven't really had much. I haven't put much effort into like the local scene.
Yeah.
Right now, where I'm at, West Virginia, this is the longest we've been in one place, but typically we're in a place for like 6 to 9 months tops, and then move somewhere else. So I never really tried to get too like ingrained into the local side of things. But I mean, there's definitely opportunities. I can't remember there's all kinds of like meetup apps now, like community meetup apps, where you can find people that are interested in the same things that you are in your area. And it might actually be called Meetup. even if there aren't any out there, like you can organize your own, and other people who see that in the area who want to be a part of it can join. And you basically create like these small little networking groups and go do whatever it is, whether you're biking or yoga or want to talk podcasting or whatever it is. Like, you can kind of create your own little networking events and build relationships, or maybe there are already people that are crushing it in what you think you'd want to do, and you kind of have that brain to pick. Like, it's the local scene, I think, would be interesting to kind of dive into, but personally I haven't had much experience with it.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, I can imagine that. You work for a construction company. My brother did that. I mean, you're really a gypsy, right?
Yeah.
At the control of someone else, right?
Yep.
Yeah, man. Well, Nick, man, this has been great, man. I love just hearing your thought process, and man, I feel like you're earlier. I imagine you don't feel like you started at the right time, but you seem like you. In my perspective, I feel like you have. So,
yeah, I mean, it feels like I'm like way behind, but I can see. Yeah. No.
Yeah. But so, yeah, I mean, just give a plug really to my audience about what you're doing, and where they can find you.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it, man. First off, everyone listening, like, if you are listening to this right now, go drop your boy a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts.
Yes. Yes.
It means a lot. It's awesome to see the reviews come in and see what people think of the show. So definitely go do that. Show support for your host. He's crushing it up here. So
yeah.
If you want to get in contact with me, talk to me about podcasting or business, online business in general, you can go to my website, just 95podcast.com. I made it really confusing by spelling out numbers, but it is all spelled out. So it's just NINEFIVE podcast.com. That'll actually take you to the podcast page, but it essentially redirects you to my main website, and you can find my social media links. You can go to the contact form and get in contact with me. And I also have podcast resources as well. So if you're just curious and want to pick in, like, there's a lot of stuff over there to check out.
Awesome. That's great, Nick, man. Well, I appreciate it, man. You coming on. This is really interesting because, I feel like we're in the same boat and trying to build brands, build podcasts. And, like you said, I got 100% agree. Just echo just the relationship piece. It's been pretty fascinating. And through podcasts, we can connect with people across the country or even like across the ponds, man.
Yeah.
Like
I had so many people that are from like UK, India, like all over the place. Like, how else are you going to do that? That's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And I get to hear their story and their life. Yeah. It's nuts, man. So, yeah. So, yeah, if anybody heard this and is like, man, they feel encouraged to start a podcast, well, you just heard it. So, and then reach out to old Nick here. So, but man, thanks for coming on. It was great to meet you.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to the Men Are Forged podcast. Summer's coming to an end, but I know some of y'all are still getting active. You're still going outside. Man, fall's going to be just perfect. And I've got the active wear for you for a brand with a mission. It's called the Three Nails Clothing Company. It's at threenailsclothing.com, and they've got great shorts, t-shirts, and hats for you to really help you be more active. But also, it's a brand with a mission to spread the kingdom and to share the vision of Christ. So you can go to, like I said, threenailsclothing.com. But when you check out, make sure you put in the Men Are Forged promo code. That's one word, Men Are Forged, all caps. That is because of this podcast, guys, because you're listening here, you get 10% off by using the Men Are Forged promo code at threenailsclothing.com. So go check out that, get some great active wear. And I appreciate y'all listening, and I'll see you next time.